Do you ever just sit and think about how dramatic Nick Suriano's wrestling career has been? You know, I did the video last week about Spencer Lee, and just one little mention or one portion of Nick Suriano's story about him testing positive for COVID-19 in the Olympic trials. The only guy that happened to. And then I sort of reflected and thought, what an insane career he's been. And has anyone had a more dramatic career while saying less than Nick Suriano? You know, starting at the beginning, it starts sort of normal. He's the #1 kid coming out of high school, Paramus, New Jersey, Bergen Catholic. He goes to Penn State. #1 kid goes to Penn State. That makes a lot of sense. That sounds pretty familiar even right now. Goes to Penn State. He's having a fantastic start to his true freshman season. The plan was for him to wrestle right away. Nico graduates. Nick Suriano comes in. Everything's going great, right? He beats Darian Cruz, the NCAA champion that year. He beats Ethan Lezak. So you're saying, well, okay, he beats the #1 and 2 guys. Why didn't he win NCAAs? Well, national duels, Oklahoma State, a day I'll remember for a lot of reasons, but also for the injury that Nick Suriano suffered. And you think about the circumstances around that injury. Kind of like a non-contact snaps his ankle. When have you seen that?
But behind the arms for Piccinini, and now Suriano cuts away and earns the escape, and he's hopping. Something happened. I rolled my ankle. And he's shaking his head, kind of like, this is huge, Christian.
That's a question you ask a lot with Nick Suriano's career. Like, who does this happen to? When does this happen? Only Nick Suriano. Only Nick Suriano just snaps his ankle, hitting a stand-up. And so then the question was, for the next month, is Nick Suriano going to wrestle? So if you don't remember, there's this question, is he going to wrestle, is he not? He enters Big Tens, right? Okay, well, 1 second injury default. He doesn't actually wrestle at Big Tens. So then that kicks the conversation down 2 more weeks. Is he going to wrestle at NCAAs? He's entered. He gets the 2 seed. This guy gets the 2 seed. He didn't even wrestle at his conference tournament. That's how good the season Nick Suriano was having. He goes to NCAAs, and after the scratch date, they cut him from the tournament. He doesn't wrestle, okay? So he does not wrestle at NCAAs his true freshman year, all right? So then that's some weird circumstances, right? And then what happens after that? Boom, Nick Suriano leaves Penn State. No one does that. Who leaves Penn State after a great season? You know, you could say Bubba Jenkins. That was sort of a mutual parting of ways if we're being honest. No one leaves Penn State. Nick Suriano does. And where does he want to go? He wants to go to Rutgers. Okay, now, if you've only been following college wrestling a few years, that may not sound that weird, but it's really weird because if you transfer Big Ten to Big Ten, at that time, that means you're going to sit a year. You could transfer within conference, but you have to sit. 1-year penalty. That's what happened for everyone. Nick Suriano says, no, Nick Suriano's not going to sit a year. I don't know if the Obi-Wan Kenobi said, Nick Suriano's not going to sit for a year. Because he wrestled right away, and he was the first. And if you want to talk about the floodgates getting open, now Big Ten to Big Ten is common. And you don't sit a year, and no one really sits a year anymore. And Nick Suriano was one of the first to just transfer freely, right? He just goes to Rutgers, but then he doesn't sit a year. And that was in 2018, 2017, and now it's commonplace. But back then, it was unheard of to transfer Big Ten to Big Ten and not sit a year. So then he goes to Rutgers. Everything's going great again. Nick Suriano, the question has never been Nick Suriano's wrestling ability. It's always been great. So he's having a fine season back down at 125. Late in the year, he suffers a very, very serious knee infection. He's hospitalized for like a week in the hospital. His knee, I've seen pictures, it was unrecognizable as a knee.
It's hurting, it's swollen, it's just something's brewing nice. Something's brewing in there.
It looked terrible. They had to find the right doctor to clear him to allow him to wrestle at NCAAs. Okay, who does that happen to? Nick Suriano. Wrestles at NCAAs, makes the finals, loses to the great Spencer Lee. Okay? Next year, he goes up in weight class. And if you weren't watching college wrestling then, for some reason, some coaches or some officials said, hey, you know what would be great is if we just started giving out points if someone touches a face with their hand. That was like the entire topic of that season. And so Nick Suriano wrestles Dayton Fix in the duel. He loses on a hands to the face penalty point.
Back to the middle we go.
Whoa.
They'll give Fix the point for hands to the face. As you said,
these guys
Sean,
can't get it right, man.
They wrestle again at the NCAA finals, okay? Again, hands to the face, gets challenged John Smith, no point. But more drama, because these two cannot take each other down. It doesn't happen. They go to tiebreakers. Dayton Fix gets both legs in. Stalemate. Nick Suriano was flattened out, wasn't going to get away, didn't look like, but he gets a stalemate. He gets away next time. Hip heist escapes. We've all seen it, right? So they go back on their feet. Remember, they can't take each other down. Well, yes, they can. Nick Suriano, the famous picture, you've seen it, the hands curled around the headgear. He gets a single leg. He gets the finish on Dayton Fix. Controversial for sure. But Nick Suriano gets the win, okay? They don't call the headgear grab, okay? Fair or not, right or wrong, wherever you fall on that, they didn't call it. Who wins an NCAA title like that? Nick Suriano. But then now he's searching, right? He finishes that, he's an NCAA, he's Rutgers' first NCAA champion, right? And so everything's going great. He Olympic red shirts, but then he starts entering tournaments, but he's not training. You start to hear, well, he's not training at the NJRTC. He's not training at Rutgers. He's training up in New York City, Kendall Cross. More questions. What's going on with Nick Suriano? We don't exactly know. He ends up at the Senior Nationals. He's wrestling for NYC RTC. Okay. Then the COVID, they shuts everything down, kicks down his Olympic red shirt another year, and you're wondering, will he come back? 2021 is a free year. And he just keeps himself in the conversation without ever saying anything. He doesn't wrestle that year. I already mentioned, only guy to test positive for COVID-19 in 2021 and get not able to wrestle at the Olympic trials. So then it's like, all right, well, he has this NCAA eligibility after all that drama. So where's he going to go? Is he going to go back to Rutgers? No. Well, he's training at Arizona State now with Mark Perry and the Sunkissed Kids. Okay, so maybe he's going to go to Arizona State, and he's not going to go to Arizona State. Late in his senior year, Nick Suriano transfers to Michigan. He wins the title there, 125. Who goes down? Who wins the title at 133 and goes down a weight and wins the title? Find an example of anyone who's won a title at a weight, goes down later and wins a title. Who does that? I'm asking genuinely. I really want to know. Has anyone ever done that? Has anyone ever won a weight and then cut down and won a weight lighter? I'm genuinely asking. Please find that person because I think it's a remarkable accomplishment. It's not something we've really seen before. Nick Suriano does it. He does it at Michigan. Team 100, great team, places second. But then it's like, all right, what's he going to do? Is he going to try to make the run at the world team? He looks really good. He's down at 57 kilograms. Oh, he goes to California, starts training jiu-jitsu, looking into acting. What's going on? So are you not wrestling anymore? He took the time. He figured it out. Okay, I do want to wrestle. All right, done with jiu-jitsu, California, put that on pause. I want to wrestle. Where am I going to wrestle? Let's go back to Michigan. September, they announced he's going to join the Cliff King Wrestling Club at Ann Arbor, University of Michigan. That lasts 2 months, 3 months. He wrestles at World Cup, and then now he's back at Arizona State. Okay, so the U.S. Open is just the next chapter in this Nick Suriano story, and he is young in his freestyle career. And I'm sure we're going to have many more chapters along the way, and I cannot wait to see what happens in his next chapter at the U.S. Open next week.